Hi, my name is James McNabb. I'm the General Manager of Totem. Totem is a content agency and we're part of St. Joseph Strategic Content Labs. We help our clients use content to build their brands and customer relationships. I'm here with Paul Ferris, our Director of Editorial and Creative. Today we're talking about 3 kinds of content and what you should do about it. First kind of content, static web content, digital content primarily. And this is the content that sits on your website and you probably put it up when you redesigned your website 3 years ago and it's been there since. But this stuff gets old, it gets old fast. So
I think that's what happens when people hear evergreen. They think, oh, we can just leave that up forever and it'll still be fine. And it's like, no, you do have to pay attention and come back and make sure it's consistent, that you're driving people to the right places. Making sure that stuff is updated is really important.
I mean, it's there to help customers and it's there to really explain your products and services. And this isn't something that really should be overlooked over the long term.
No.
So what should you do about it?
You should have someone who's paying attention to all the content on your site, and that I think as the company changes, the brand changes, taking a look at it, reviewing it as a user would or as a customer would, and making sure they can find their way around a site, or that still the content is actually still true to the brand. And it's accurate. Like some of that stuff is really basic, servicey, customer service oriented stuff, and make sure it's still accurate. That's a big thing.
I know we did a project for Metro a few years ago where we went through all of their recipes.
Right.
They had quite a few. It was in the thousands,
yes.
And there were duplicates, and it was some of it was quite out of date. So we went through and cleaned every piece of content, removed duplicates, went through for style, corrected any issues, audited everything, and then republished it on their new site.
Yeah, it was a great piece of work for us to take on, and it was also one of those things you can look at as it is kind of archiving, organizing, getting everything right, so you can move forward.
Now, that said, you probably want to have content that drives traffic on a regular basis and continues to grow, but that starts to look like a publishing program. And I think that's the next thing to talk about here is, what is a publishing program and what should you expect of a good quality publishing program? I mean, this is content that is updated on a frequent basis, and it's a growing body of content on your website. So, it could be editorial, it could be white papers. It often requires some due diligence and fact checking to make sure that when it gets out there, it's accurate, and you probably want it to earn its own traffic. So there's an SEO component to this as well. So really, mid-lifespan content, you're looking to build a connection with your audience through this content, and you want to be contributing to the community in which your brand participates, creates relevance. So if you're a mountain biking company, you're going to talk about things that are important and interesting to mountain bikers so that they see that you're concerned and paying attention and contributing to the things that matter to them.
And I think when people might hear, publishing a program, it's a big, huge, unwieldy thing. Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be kind of as big or as small as you want it to be. But I think the point is making sure it is a publishing program. You're posting new content or publishing new content on a regular basis. If that's once a week, if it's 5 times a week, 15 times a week, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But making sure you're sticking to that program once you commit to build it.
So if you're a brand trying to start out a publishing program of some sort, what should you do about it?
First thing you do is figure out come up with a strategy. How do you want to publish? What kind of content you want to publish? Where it's going to be. Is it going to be in print? Is it going to be on the web? Is it going to be social? Where is it? And kind of work from that and build at least a framework so you can get started. And then you develop your content plans. That's schedules, things like that, and start producing content. Make sure it's edited, fact checked. Obviously, you have depending on the budget, depending on the scale, do you need in-house writers? Do you need freelance writers? How are you going to handle that? Obviously some of that work we can take on, but that's where we can step in and say, okay, let's figure out the strategy. Let's figure out how often you want to do this and figure out what you want to do.
And sort of the budgetary components.
Budgetary components, yeah. And is it text? Is it video? Is it photography? What is it? And what best represents the work you're trying to accomplish?
Cool. So out of a program like that, you would get a kind of well-executed, C-suite friendly, nice, clean content program so that everybody's satisfied with it and it touches your consumers in a meaningful way. Right. And I guess ideally the trick here is you want this to get a lot of traffic, but it should be the kind of content that brings in its own traffic. So your goal there is to maximize the exposure. So if you were, say, publishing an article on a website, you want to put that article up on all of your social channels. You want to have it go past your homepage. You want to make sure that there's lots of opportunities for your audience, your customers, your prospects to engage with it.
Right.
Otherwise, it might just sit there in the back corner of your website for a long time and not get the traffic you'd like it to. So you touched on something earlier, social media. Third kind of content, social media content. This is the content you publish daily, maybe even more frequently than that, to keep people engaged in your brand all the time. And I think that's, it's important to remember this is like short lifespan content. It might be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, could even be live content, could be Facebook live content. And it's very high currency. It's stuff that matters right now. Now, we're not a social media agency. We don't do social media management.
But I think it's a good point that the social media does require a lot of heavy lifting because, like you said, there is the PR element, which is kind of one stream of social media content, and then there's the content side. The brand, it's really important to stay true to the brand and stay relevant to that brand. So making sure whatever you're posting, whether it's on the PR side or whether it's on the strict content side, making sure it is actually reflective of what you do as a brand and what your brand is all about, what things you value. Just as we do for our own social media, we only post things that represent our values.
One of the key differences with social media is you have to be as actively involved in the listening as in the publishing, and that's where a social media management agency comes in. However, most of the time those agencies aren't set up to do the bigger elements that you might need. And I think that bears discussion around the business of producing something more substantial. You need to make a dent, and just having an ongoing chatter about your brand usually isn't going to do that. So ideally, I would say, do video. That's why we're doing video. Video is the fastest growing and has the greatest audiences, and it's a little more complicated to produce than, say, like a web article. But it is the sort of material that will continue to have value over a little bit longer and can be referenced for more time and can be done economically very quickly. And I think that's the other side of things that is really happening is the bar is dropping on the price and the frequency can go up.
Sure.
That's 3 kinds of content and what you should do about it. If something in this video resonated with you, give us a call. We'd love to chat with you about your organization, the content challenges you're dealing with, and how we could help. I'm James McNabb, and we'll be back next week with another conversation.